everyone, it's your girl Regina Sunshine coming to you live from the Regina Sunshine Show here every Monday from 12 noon till about 1:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at Regina Sunshine Global Network. And I'm so excited about today's show. It's a different type of show today. We have an amazing guest, Miss Jacqueline Goodwin is here, and then we have something different. I ain't gonna tell you what we're gonna do, but you've probably seen the flyers, and you know Christine Gardner, who is my station manager, is also a guest on the show today, but it's not a traditional guest situation, so we'll surprise y'all with what that's gonna be. But we thank you so much for tuning in. I'm excited. I'm coming off a pretty pumped up weekend. I had the honor of being one of the featured presenters at the Upstate South Carolina Chamber of Commerce's Women's Conference in Greenwood, South Carolina at Lander University on Friday. It's my third time presenting with them. I was in the number one presenter slot this time, which means if you've ever been to a conference, you know, all-day conference, the morning sections are really packed, and then they kind of dwindle as the day goes on. So, you know, I was packed out, and we had an amazing time. Booked a couple speaking engagements, which is a tip for all my motivational speakers out there. You book most of your speaking engagements when you're in the room and you just finished a speaking engagement. I'm going to go ahead and give that tip since I'm thinking about it. So you just finished a talk. You have people coming up afterwards. Oh, I would love to have you come and speak at my church. Don't say, well, just give me a call. Well, what date are you thinking about? Let's go ahead and lock in a date now, see if I'm available. And set up a specific time for them you guys to communicate about that date afterwards and to negotiate everything else. It's even better if you have somebody on your team present with you who can go ahead and do the full negotiations while you're shaking hands and taking pictures with everybody else. But what happens is, just like product sales, you sell more product when you're in the room after you just finished talking. You book more speaking engagements because people are still caught up in the emotion of experiencing you and everything. And a lot of times they go home, they forget that those emotions wear away or whatever, and so about 50% of those that mentioned they wanted to book you when they saw you in the room never contact you. But if you go ahead and lock them in on the spot, that's like a 90% chance that you're going to be speaking. So that's one of the things that one of the reasons I go back to this conference every time they have it, because I typically book 4 to 5 speaking engagements in the room before I leave, and this one was no different. So I'm excited. Thank you again to the Women's Leadership Council for having me back. Thank you for the ladies that attended my mastermind meeting on that Thursday night. I'll see if I can remember their names. Annie Posley, Clarissa Partlow, Beverly Green, Juanita Hosey, Gina Wagner, and there was somebody, Dr. Audrey Ann Moses. Thank you, ladies. We had an amazing time, shared some great information that will truly bless each other's businesses. So I had a great time in Greenwood. Every time I'm there, it's like going home, but I always leave more blessed for the journey. Okay, so I do want to mention a couple of announcements for those who don't know, and I always say for those who don't know because I've been talking about them since the beginning of the year. June 10th is the 2nd annual Boss Men's Awards and our 4th annual Young Boss Awards, where we honor boys ages 5 to 17 that are excelling in whatever area of gifting that they've been purposed in. And it's going to be right here at Regina Sunshine Global Network, 6 o'clock that evening. We are also having a $500 business pitch competition for the boys that night. I've already had parents in my inbox trying to get that $500. So pretty soon we will release the information on how you can sign your boys up for the business pitch competition and also nominate them to be one of our Young Boss honorees this year. And then in the summertime after that, on August the 24th, we will be having the Awesome Girl Awards. 5 years of Awesome Girl Awards. And we will be partnering with the Andrew and Walter Young YMCA to have the award show there. It's going to be an all-girl award show, girl MC, girl DJ, girl caterer, everything. And I'm so excited that we even have some of our past awesome girls coming through to tell our new awesome girls what the journey has been like to be a part of our Awesome Girl program, but also where they are now in pursuing their dreams and goals. But the thing that I'm most excited about this year's Awesome Girl Awards is that we are launching the Awesome Girl Collaboration Book. That's right, girls ages 5 to 17 are having the opportunity to write a chapter in our Awesome Girl book and tell everybody why they believe they're an awesome girl. Right now we have 21 girls. We need 9 more girls to make the 30. The thing is, I like the number 21, but I do have some other parents that want their girls in the book, so I've been holding off closing it down. But yes, it's an excellent opportunity for your girl to become a published author, to be a part of the Awesome Girl Awards, because we will launch the book at the awards show. So if you want your girl to be a part of the Awesome Girl book, again, girls ages 5 to 17, inbox me at reginasunshine.robinson@gmail.com. That's reginasunshine.robinson@gmail.com. All right. And I think that, well, we got to mention the Curvy and Confident Awards, even though that's in November. This is the 3rd annual Curvy and Confident Awards show. We'll be right here at Regina Sunshine Global Network at Studio T, 4040 Chapel Hill Road, Suite T in Douglasville, Georgia. And it is the award show all about recognizing women who are living on purpose, out here changing the lives of other women. And this year we're back to having the full Curvy and Confident Empowerment Week. We're going to have a comedy show partnering with Miss Jen. We're going to have a spoken word event partnering with, I can't tell you yet because we're still working out the details. And then we have a Network Your Curves Off event that Friday night before the award show. So it's going to be a full week of events. A lot of great stuff is going on. Just tune in. And of course, you can go to reginasunshine.com and get the details for all these events. If you want to be a vendor or a sponsor, these are some pretty powerful spots to be in because there'll be all kinds of amazing people in the room. All of that you can find at reginasunshine.com. And I didn't have it on my notes, Christine, but I need to mention that we are launching the winter issue of Bold Plus magazine this Thursday night at 7 o'clock via Facebook Live. We've always done it like an event type setup, but our cover girl actually lives a couple states away. And so we are doing a Facebook Live event. You can actually go to Bold Plus on Facebook, and you should be able to find the event information there. But we are so excited that Akila Benjamin is our cover girl for this issue of Bold Plus. And again, if you don't know, I am the editor-in-chief of Bold Plus. Christine is our social media manager. And yeah, we always have the pleasure of choosing the cover pictures. And this time we were down to 2 that were really similar, but the one that Christine thought was best was the one that made the cover, and she was right, you know, all along, and it's beautiful, and I can't wait for you guys to see it. And so again, you can tune in live on Facebook Live. We'll also have some of the other contributing authors for this issue of the magazine on live with us. I know if you're watching, you're like, Regina, I didn't know that. So I'm going to send y'all an email here in the next day or so, Christine and Robin and Clarissa and all of y'all, because we want you to get on the Facebook Live and tell a little bit about your article and everything while we're doing the live event. Okay? So I think that's it. Do want to mention our sponsors for today's show. Leading Through Living Community and Bold Favor Media Group, founded both by Miss Lanita Mitchell Blackwell. You can go to leadingthroughliving.com and find out about all their services, from book publishing to helping you start a magazine, to helping you get your own show, to even coaching services as well. So a number of things there. Thank you to Lanita Mitchell Blackwell and Leading Through Living and Bold Favor Media Group for your support of what we do here at the Regina Sunshine Show and the Regina Sunshine Global Network. All right. Well, I always go to the first break talking about what I'm thankful for. And I'm thankful that God continues to allow me to do the things that I love to do. I told the ladies that were at the event on Friday, you know, I do a number of things. But when I get to be in a space like that, when I'm in a room full of women, and I get to speak to their hearts and tell them the truth about who they are and God's purpose for their lives, those are my best days because their energy is pulling on me the entire time. And so when I leave events like that, even though I won't say spiritually exhausted, but there's a different level of exhaustion because you've given a part of yourself away. A lot of people don't understand that. Most speakers know what I'm talking about. I mean, you even seen it with your pastor where, you know, when they get off the platform and they want to go somewhere and hide for a minute, you need a minute to get yourself, you know, refreshed, rejuvenated, because you have literally given a part of yourself away. But even with that, I leave there feeling so encouraged and so empowered for the exchange of energy between me and the women that were present. And so that's why I always thank my audiences for showing up. Yes, you may have shown up to hear me speak, but your presence in the room gives me a boost of what I need to continue to do what God has told me to do. So I'm thankful that God loves me enough that He allows me to live in spaces that are truly a dream come true for me and to do what I love to do every day of my life. All right. So we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll have Miss Jacqueline Goodwin here live on the Regina Sunshine Show. Where? At Regina Sunshine Global Network. All right, you guys, you are back live on the air with Regina Sunshine here on the Regina Sunshine Show at Regina Sunshine Global Network. I know it's a lot of Regina Sunshine. It's called branding. It's called branding. But I'm so excited to have a special guest from out of town here today with us. Welcome to the show, Ms. Jacqueline Goodwin. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you for having me.
It's good to have you here. Tell everybody where you came in from.
I am coming from a town called Eastover, South Carolina. So it's a little country town, but it's where I grew up at, and that's where I'm coming from.
Now, Eastover, I'm trying to see if I ever heard that name, because I lived in Greenwood for 17 years.
And you've probably heard of Columbia more so than
I've heard of Columbia,
yeah.
Yes.
So it's near Columbia.
Okay. Now, I was trying to think how we connected, because I normally like to mention at the beginning of the interview how I met someone. This is the first time we've met face to face.
Right.
So how did we connect?
We connected through Emily Elizabeth. She sent you a letter.
Okay. Well, I'm always having people reach out to me and tell me, you need to know this person, you need to have this person in. And I'm like, that's why I tell people I don't have to look for guests. Folk will send people to me, and I'm thankful. So if you know somebody you want to send my way. Well, I want to read a little bit of your bio, and then we'll get into it. It says that Jacqueline Goodwin is an ordained pastor and prophetess whose ministry focuses in deliverance and healing. She has a passion and heart for the youth, which has led her to various positions within the ministry and career field. Since 2002, Goodwin has served as youth director, a mentor, and Sunday school teacher with her local church. A former paralegal, educator, and substance abuse counselor, that's interesting, who uses her gift of empowerment to transform lives within her career field. She has earned a Master of Arts in Practical Theology, we're going to talk about that too, from Regent University, Master of Counseling from Webster University, Columbia, South Carolina, a Master of Pastoral Counseling from Liberty University, Lynchburg, Virginia, and an Associate degree of Paralegal graduating magna cum laude from South University, and a Bachelor of Arts in English from Francis Marion. I know exactly where that is. I didn't grow up far from Francis Marion in Florence, South Carolina.
Okay.
Yes. She currently resides in South Carolina with her son, 2 daughters, and granddaughter. Her hobbies include running, walking, meditating, and writing, counseling youth, and working in the community. That's some good stuff. Now, first of all, you got more degrees than most people that I've met in my life. Are you one of those people that is what I call an ongoing learner? You love to continue to educate yourself and pursue new things?
Yes, and God sort of shifted me, because my plan was to become a lawyer. And while I was working as a paralegal, I met a young lady, we was co-workers, and she started telling me about the counseling program at Webster. And I was like, I'm not going to do no counseling. So we was in the courtroom, and she went and made a phone call to Webster and was acting like me. And Miss Pamela came, she said that you have a phone call. So when I got on the phone, I talked to the administrator there, and I gave her my information. I said, well, I'll go see what they're talking about. Went there, and I never forget, it was Dr. Tuma. He was interviewed me, and we was talking. I told him, I said, well, I want to be a lawyer. That's why, I took paralegal first. So he started telling me, he said, some people have a calling. And I said, I don't think that's my calling. He said, yeah, that's your calling. He said, that's where God is leading you to. And I was like, no, me and God had a talk. I want to be a lawyer. Long story short, he shifted me into counseling, and then the other degrees, he started preparing me for ministry.
Wow. It's always interesting how we have a plan, right?
Yeah.
And then God has a whole other plan. And sometimes he has to send folk in there to detour us to get us where we're supposed to be, because we're so busy focused on this is what I want to do, and he's like, no, it's over here. So I guess in that space where you began to transition, because of course you already had your plans out, this is what I'm going to do. What was it like to transition from your plan to God's plan?
Now, I am one of you talk to any of my friends, I negotiate with God. One of my friends always say, you can't be negotiating with God. I need to negotiate with God. And I was like, well, God, if you want me to go and become a counselor, then I'm not going to pay no administrative fee, no registration fee. So when I went back to talk to Dr. Toomey, he got all that waived. So I surrendered. And actually, and then some of my kids been working with the kids as a paralegal. The parents talking to me, and I was telling them about, transitioning. And it was like, but Ms. Goodman, you've been doing that the whole time with us, And I look at every job as an assignment for God. It's not me applying, but God leads me there. So I always tell people I'm on an assignment, whether it be one person that I'm reaching or whether it be a group of people.
Absolutely. And very often, we're already operating in whatever that gift is wherever we are, because it's just in us, right?
Right.
And it can't help but what's in you for it to come out.
That's true.
So you negotiated. He said, yes, this is what you're supposed to be doing. And you find out you've been counseling all the time.
Yes.
Are you that person that, because I'm like this, you say, hey, how you doing? And people don't just say fine and walk on. They say, well, girl, let me tell you.
Yes,
how I'm doing.
Yes, but they just open up, and I didn't realize it till people just start open up. Because like when I worked for the attorneys, they were like our clients just gravitate to you. I can ask them questions, and one question will lead to a whole nother story. So like you say, you already operate what God's gives you is coming out of you, but he just has to send that detour to get you in that right position where he wants you to be.
Absolutely. So in the time now that you've been pursuing counseling, what are some of the things, I guess, that you're most excited about?
Pursuing counseling, I enjoy working with the youth, as you read. But prior to that, God has shifted me into ministry. So now I'm doing the side of the pastoral counseling, which it's a little bit of both. But I enjoy doing both. I enjoy working with women and the youth and helping them, as you said earlier, to just empower them, encourage them, and realize their self-worth.
That sounds good. So you said pastoral counseling. Mm-hmm. So you're counseling pastors?
Yeah. Oh, no, I would say as a pastor, like
gotcha.
Yeah, but some pastors we do counsel. I do counsel pastors.
So what type of counseling is it? Like, is it marriage counseling? Is it just a person needs individual spiritual counseling?
Well, some counselors is on the marriage, and then some is on individual, because we as pastors, as leaders, we get burnt out. So we need somebody to talk to, to pour back into us. So I have a couple of pastors that we talk to one another and counsel one another to make sure, and to be accountable.
Yes.
So
sounds good. Well, you brought a book with you. Tell us about your book.
Yes, I am the author of Healing in a Vessel, A Mother's Love and a Daughter's Journey of Faith. This is my mom who's going on home to be with the Lord, so I dedicated it to her.
Yes.
And actually, God again, this is how my ministry started. He developed this ministry out of a testimony that I had went through some years about. I think it was like 2003, I was diagnosed with HIV. So in that diagnosis, well, let me back up prior to that. Before I was diagnosed, God had already revealed to my mother at the time that I was going to go through the test, but she didn't tell me. She began to intercede for me. So when I got the diagnosis and leaving from the doctor, the Holy Spirit told me, don't talk to nobody. God brings me on shutdown. When I'm on shutdown, I'm not on no cell phone. I'm not on social media. I'm not having visitors to my house. So he told me to go on a shutdown. So he told me just to ask your mother to cover you in prayer. Don't tell her the diagnosis. So I was obedient. I went home, told my mom, Mom, I'm going to shut down. I just really need you to pray for me. So in the processes of fasting and praying and seeking God for my healing, I told God, I said, God, I said, true. Well, before I left the doctor's office, I don't know whether y'all noticed, when you looked at the back of a door, it has a cross on it. When you just move everything else out the way, it's like a cross. And that's all I saw on the door was the cross. So I was hearing what my doctor was saying. And I told him, I said, I heard what you said, but I got to go home and talk to the doctors of doctors. So
I like that.
So I got in my, well, before that, my prayer partner, she was one of my prayer partners. She worked there. She was a receptionist. So I asked her, I said, well, does the doctor share with you diagnosis? And she said, no, just because I'm a receptionist, I don't get to see y'all folder. So I told her, I said, because you're my prayer partner, I'm going to share my diagnosis with you. So I told the woman of God, and she got up and she began to pray in the lobby. And as she began to pray, she said, you know, God's going to bring you through this. She said, all she heard was Isaiah 43:2, that, you know, when you come through the fire, you won't look like what you've been through. So I was on the way going home, and God told me, he said, I just want you to shut down. So when I got home, I told my mom, I said, I just need you to cover me in prayer. So I began to lay prostrate before God, and I told God, I said, God, now, you raised Lazarus from the dead, so I know this is not hard for you.
Yes.
I said, God, there's nothing impossible. I said, so if I have to rest up like Jacob and come out limping, I'm going to get my healing. So that's what I did. I stayed before God, and I was fasting, and on the third day, I was looking up in my ceiling, laying in the bed. He showed me two words. He said, victory and negative. So when I went back, the blood work was negative. He had,
girl,
oh Jesus, I'm about to shout up in here. But God came in and healed my blood. So that is how healing in a vessel was birthed, because it's HIV.
Wow. Woo! Well, let's talk about this. So you go back and you get this negative stuff. You know, I'm excited, right? What did the doctors have to say? What was their response? Because it's always interesting when someone is healed, how the doctors respond to the healing, or to the test results looking differently than they did before.
Now my doctor, he was like, well, maybe I just made a mistake. I got
that's normally what you hear. Go ahead.
But I told him, I said, no, I met a man a long time ago through my mother called Jesus, and I said, that's the man that healed me. I said, when you grow up, you know, when I was growing up, most people want to admire celebrities and movie stars, but I admire my mom, because she poured into me the things that I needed that very day to sustain me in 2003 to be healed. She taught me about fasting. She taught me about praying. She taught me about staying in the presence of God.
Yes.
And those things are the things that kept me. Those things are the things that birthed that ministry out of me. So when I told my mom about it after the healing and everything, she said, baby, she said, God had already told me to intercede for you. She said, but I don't know why he didn't allow me to tell you. And I said, Mom, now I know why. I said, because had you had told me the time he had told you to intercede for me, you would have been burying me. See, God had to build up my faith to get there, because you have to have a level of faith to know that you know that, God, I'm going to stay here until you move. I'm not accepting the doctor's report. I'm going to stay here until I'm here. I'm going to stay here, because I told God I got to see my children. Children, even today, I see my grandbaby. That's my first grand out there with me today.
That's good stuff. I remember my sister Pamela, years ago, she'd gotten a diagnosis that there was what they call grapefruit-sized tumor in her uterus.
Wow.
And I still remember it, and she had to go in for the biopsy and everything. And we had, as a family, me, my mother, and my grandmother had come together in agreement that she was healed. I will never forget it, because that day they came in and they went in to do the biopsy and they couldn't find it. And she had snuck her phone in, because she wasn't supposed to have her phone in there. And she called me, laying on the table. They said they can't find it. And I told her right then, I said, now what they going to come back and tell you is they made a mistake. I said, but I need you to know there was no mistake. Your God healed you. I said, and don't you allow them to take that away from you, what he has done for you.
Yes.
And when I called my girl, we shouted on the phone that day.
Yes.
girl, they had left to get more doctors. So they were like, we can't find, let's go get some more doctors and come back in. So I know exactly what you're talking about, because when God operates in a space like that, you have to be able to give him the glory for what he has done. So then now other people are blessed, so other people are healed. So when they hear the testimony of what has happened to you, their lives are changed.
And that's it, because I was more, and I was like, well, God, I was going to keep, I shared it with my family, but I went to a service, and God was telling me, he said, this is my first time he had me to share before a church. So he was telling me to share, and I'm sitting down in between the pew, and I'm like, no, God, I don't know these people. They ain't going to be looking at me sideways. I don't know if they faith there. You know, I'm just like, they're going to be looking at me crazy. And literally, Regina, God had placed me in between the two pews. I don't know how I got in between them. And he said, you're not going to get up till you surrender. And I just said yes before. And when I said yes, I was up in front of the church. It's like God got me up, and I was in front of the church sharing the testimony. But prior to that, the woman of God, the first lady of the church, it was getting ready to end. The old country church, we have testimony service.
Oh, yeah.
So she got up and she said, we can't go any further in the service. She said, because there's one more testimony that God is saying that's got to be heard. And she said, told her husband, she said, I know we got a program to follow. She said, but I got to be obedient to the spirit. And then that was me that was holding up the service. Again, negotiating with God. But he moved me after I said yes, and I got up there. And the woman of God took me in her office, and she said, woman of God, when God said, open up your mouth and share it. She said, share it. She said, because our deacon just came in Friday, and he was diagnosed with that same thing. That's why he was shouting so when you release your testimony. So from that day, for whenever God said, open up your mouth, I open it for whoever wants to grab it and receive it.
Absolutely, because it's not for us. And I think so often we're caught up in how we feel and how people going to look at me, not recognizing there's somebody that needs your testimony. So they'll know if God did it for her, he'll do it for me. Wow, I love that. So in the book, do you tell the entire story?
Yes, ma'am. That is my first chapter. And then the rest of it, when God had me to birth this book, it's different testimony that he's brought me through, from being a single mom and struggling financially. They came to repossess my car, and they couldn't. And the day that they came, the guy said to me, he said, I'm just going to call off and tell them I couldn't find the car. He said, but I want you to call them and see if y'all can work something out. And God gave me favor there. So when I called, I had owed like $1,200 or more from back pay, because I wasn't working at that time. I had just started working when the guy came to my house. So when I called the young, and before I called, I said, God, connect me with a divine person that you want me to talk to, because when we do divine connection, then everything else will fall in place. So God divinely connected to me, this woman, and as we began to talk, what was like $1,200 came down to $800, and then I got an extension to pay that, and she worked with me, but that was nothing but God. But it's different testimonies, just stuff like, you know, people that they're going through repossession, and God can keep them from coming to get your car. He can keep you from getting evicted out your house. You know, me and my kids have stayed in a house. This testimony is not in this book, but I stayed in a house where I was going back and forth with the mortgage company for years. And God didn't move us till he was ready. But we was like 13 or more years in that house, me going back and forth, not paying mortgage. And God started preparing me. He didn't ambush me. He said, I'm getting ready to move you. And I didn't want to let go of the house. God said, I can't put old wine in new wineskin. He said, I'm getting ready to shift you. So I lost the house to foreclosure, but my father couldn't understand why I wasn't sad. But I wasn't sad because God said, that was the house that me and my ex had together. He said, everything I'm going to do is new. So the car that I had that he kept from being repossessed at that time, he removed that. So he just started doing new things in my life.
All I hear is miracles. And you know, I've been hearing miracles. It seems like everywhere I go, different people, I'll hear miracles and just amazing testimonies. And I thank you, because as you're talking, God is reminding me of things that I've been delivered from and things that have happened, because there's some things going on right now. And I'm like, okay, Lord, I don't quite see how you're going to do this time. I don't quite. And he's like, haven't I?
I already look back.
Haven't I?
Yes. See, we got to look back and remember. Because I've had those moments, even in the season I am now. You know, sometimes God, he'll tell me, he said, go back and read your book. Because you've forgotten what all I brought you through. you forgotten how I healed you. You forgotten, when that my oldest daughter that's here, when she was 7, how I had to put her in the front, and we was driving a car that had the windshield was broken. And that year in South Carolina, it had snowed. I didn't have gloves for them. I had put little socks, but me and her was pushing the windshield back and forth. But glory be to God, each of my kids got their own car today. So I just thank God. So I have to just tell what He's done. He's brought us too far for me not to open up my mouth.
Yeah, I'm telling you, when you were talking about the repossession, and I guess this is kind of like a testimony service here. I remember, and I still have the letter where my sister and I, when we first started our business, we started debt-free, ran it for debt-free for a long time, and people were always showing up to volunteer to do stuff for us. Be like, you need a website? Oh, I'm going to build you a website. Wow. And then when we started the second business, we actually took out, we started on a business credit card, and we ended up being almost $20,000 in debt on that card. And one day, the people from the credit card company called me and said, we have accidentally marked your credit card paid in full.
Jeez, hey God.
We have accidentally marked your credit card paid in full. And because we can't go in and change it, we have to notify you and allow you, if you still want to pay this debt back, you can pay it. Now, when I tell people this story, they think I'm crazy. My son Gabriel is testimony because when they called back, he was present. I wanted him to hear, and I have the letter as well. He said, we're going to call you in a couple days. I said, well, sir, I can already tell you, I'm not, I said, God has already erased that debt from me. I'm not paying that debt back to y'all. And he was like, well, ma'am, y'all did spend this money. I was like, he's like, let me call back. And he said, he called back in a couple days. I'll never forget. I was like, Gabriel. And so I got the phone. We had him on speakerphone. He was like, well, I'm calling back with the same terms I gave you before. We can't undo it, but, you can still pay it back and everything. And I said, sir, I'm going to tell you the same thing I told you the other day. I said, God has already erased that debt. I can't go back. No. And my son's eyes were so big. And so as you were talking, God reminded me, because of everything that's happening right now, I stepped out in faith. I left my job June 30th last year to start Regina Sunshine Global Network. Wow. Everything here is how I pay my bills. If nothing happens here, I don't pay my bills. Does that make sense?
Yes.
And I'm in a space right now, and Christine and I were just talking about this yesterday, where I'm seeking God for what's next. And it's like all these question marks. And when you began to speak, he said, didn't I erase a credit card debt for you? Like it wasn't nothing? Then I just wipe it away like it had never been there.
See, that's the
and
kind
I'm like,
you
know what?
Healing, making provisions. I'm telling you, and that's what I like to empower women, to let them know. You don't have to settle for just any man or put up with anything. I raised my kids after their dad and me separated. God provided. I remember my son was on basketball, and I was like, no, I don't know how, because he wanted to do the recreation basketball. And my aunt just sent me a check for the exact amount. I didn't tell her nothing. She just blessed me with the exact amount he needed for the registration. But God did it the week before it was due, because I kept saying, God, I don't know. And then God would be the type, he would say, you got to resign. And people looking at my boss would be like, where you going? Daddy said it's time to resign, so I'm going to the house. So he said do something else. But it was season where he would have me at the house where I would have to intercede and pray for people. And in ministry, sometimes when you're working full time and you're trying to balance it, one thing is going to go lacking. So as I got older, I saw what he was doing. And as I said earlier, the jobs he was sending me on was my assignments. Because when I was as a paralegal, even the judge, when I was about to leave, he said, Ms. Goodman, are you sure? And I said, if I stay, God is going to make it worse for me. I said, you don't understand, but I have to walk in obedience to him. So even leaving that job, I remember God, one of my friends, I called her my little sister. I went to her attorney office, but not knowing she was my assignment. And God was transitioning her out. And when she left, the attorneys, let me tell you how God is. I was on jury duty. So while I'm on jury duty, God is revealing to me, they were plotting to let me go. But God said, you can ambush them. He said, when you go back, go ahead and have your resignation type up. I had a stack of work. Now, let me tell you, they wanted me to get everything off my desk, and at the end of the day, they was going to let me go. So I came in and I told my supervisor, I said, well, Christina, I got the email you said you need to talk to me. I said, let's go ahead and have the meeting this morning.
I love it.
So she was like, oh, no, we can wait till later. I said, no, I want to go ahead and get it over. So we went in there. I had done took my little bag, because I used to take a bag with my Bible, my stuff, and my meditation stuff I read. I had my pocketbook, and I brought all of it in there. And I sat down, and she was talking. I said, so what are we talking about? Well, let me back up. Prior to that, the attorneys had just sent me an email commending me on an excellent job. God said, print this out and keep it. So I go in the meeting, and in the meeting, she's telling me the attorneys are complaining about your work. So I said, Christina, say that again. I said, they're complaining about my work. That's what you're saying. She said, yes. I said, okay. So I went in my bag and pulled it out, Regina. I said, so what is these emails that they email me prior to me going to jury duty saying I'm doing such an awesome job, I'm a great paralegal, so somebody's lying. I said, so we're going to get them to come on in here. So they came in there, and they was like, no, that's not what they meant to say. There was a misunderstanding. So I said, you know what, now I want to say something. And I said, here's my resignation. So she said, when is it effective? I said, if you read it, it says today. She said, where are you going to go? I said, where I'm going? I said, I was on an assignment, so you don't understand my assignment was done. I said, so you're not going to catch it because you're not in the spiritual realm. My assignment is done, so I am done. I said, I'm going home to see what the next assignment is. I called my mama. I told my mama, before I get out my mouth, I said, Mama, I don't have a job. My mama was on the phone speaking in tongues, saying God had already told her my assignment was done. See, when you are connected and spend time with God, you can have that faith to step out the boat. And I'm not encouraging people to step out, leave your job, but know that it's God telling you to do it. And that's a difference. Not because you're a freshman, because sometimes God wants us in the job to groom us, to teach us some things. So sometimes we have to stay there, sit there, to get those lessons before, because sometimes we jump out too early. So guess what? You're going to go to the next place, and God going to still give you that lesson.
Yes. Yes, Pam, I hope you listen. Me and her were talking recently about somebody we know who keeps moving from job to job. And we're like, they don't even recognize they keep going through the exact same thing because they have not grown in the thing that God is working with them. And so they keep trying to run from it. So when they get to the next job, it's the exact same situation that was in the last 3 jobs.
That's it.
So, oh, girl, I'm so...
It's just like we go to school. You know, we can't get promoted to the next grade if we haven't mastered everything in that grade. So it's just, that's how God do us. We are teachers. You know, I'm not moved by titles. God always said be teachable. You know, if you don't recognize me as a servant, then I have not done my job. That is the most top title that I believe that's in the body of Christ, is to be a servant, not as far as like pastor or apostle. But if we are not a servant, then we have failed our job to the body of Christ.
Have you considered doing a collaboration book and allowing other people to share their testimonies, their miracles?
Oh, no. You just gave me an idea. No.
I think it's time, because I'm sure I want to contribute. I mean, for sure. I got a couple of them. You know, I've been sitting here thinking about, my sister and I have said for years at some point we needed to sit down and just write down all the miracles that we've seen in our family over and over again. And, you know, just, you know, again, like I said, the testimony with her, and actually she had a tumor on her pinky toe one time, same thing, from my son, and they're trying to say he had, you know, heart challenges. This boy is a MMA fighter.
Wow.
You know, all kinds of things that he was never supposed to do, but God. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
but God. So, yes, I think you should. I think you should do a collaboration book and allow other people to share their stories. You, of course, being the lead author, and continue this in what looks like it will be a series, because the more testimonies that we can share, the more people's faith that will be built up, and the more the kingdom is being built.
Yes.
And so it's obvious to me that this is a work that you're supposed to be a part of. So I'm just put that over there for you.
Tell my daughters to write it. Got it.
For sure. So, so you wrote the first book, and we already talked about this collaboration. Have you already been maybe considering continuing to share your stories in another book?
Yes. Well, actually, I'm working on a second book that God has given me. It's called From Bitter to Better.
Okay.
And in that, we are dealing with, you know, we go through things versus be relationship, versus be sickness, our marriages, our children, and God was showing me we continue to hold on to that bitterness, and we never get to the state of being better. So He's developing me and birthing out of me moving from the bitter to the better state, because sometimes those unforgiveness and resentment can hinder the things that God wants to do for us. You know,
Absolutely.
we've all been hurt, but we can't stay in that hurt place. You know, our hearts have been broken, but we can't stay there, and we don't realize it's just a trick of the enemy that's going to keep you in bondage. Of not forgiving the baby daddy that walked out, or not forgiving the ex that didn't treat you right in the marriage, you know, or not forgiving your best friend that did something to you in high school.
Yes.
You know, just and being captivated just in that bitter state. So
I love it. We'll be waiting for that book, won't we, Christine?
Yes.
So, what's next for you? What are some of the other dreams that God has placed in your heart?
some of the other dreams is traveling to Africa and some other countries and ministering over there. Actually, I'm working on some other book collaborations with some other authors. One of the book collaboration I'm working on is What Was Meant for My Good, and I shared my HIV testimony in that book. And then I'm also working on It Takes Money, Honey. And when you think, it talks about the finances, but it also talks about faith, so I'm doing that piece and that part. And then I'm doing a book collaboration on suicide, because also in this book I talk about how the enemy had me to want to commit suicide, and I took a bunch of pills, but again, my praying mother came back in while I was taking the pills. She was at her house, and she was on the way to my house, and she said the Holy Spirit just told her to go back and intercede. So while she was interceding, God was pushing the pills back up out my mouth, because I felt as a single mom I wasn't working, and I didn't understand that God was grooming in me the how to endure things, how to be patient. But I wanted things right then. So the enemy was planting me where you're not a fit mom. You ought to let somebody else raise your kids. So I decided to take all the 24 Benadryl capsules that I had in my house. But my mom was obedient, didn't curse God. Well, what did I need to be praying about? Just went back in the house, dropped on her knees, and began to intercede. And I'm still here today. So I did a collaboration sharing that story about suicide.
Well, it is, obvious from talking to you what a powerful presence and figure your mother has been in your life. Talk to us about what it's been like to be her living legacy.
Wow. At first, Regina, I just didn't really think I could stand in her shoes. When she passed, I remember prior to her passing, that week, me and her had talked, and she used to come to my house every day, and she was looking out the window, but I thought she was looking at me. But she was looking past me, and she said to me, she said, "Jackie, you're going to be all right." But I didn't catch what she was saying. So then after that, the following week, she went into the hospital. And I was sitting there working, God was dealing with me. He said, I'm getting ready to transition your mom home. And I was like, transition her home. But he told me, he said, I don't want you to share this with your brother and your father. He said, but I want you to transition her home. But my mom was already being prepared. We just wasn't catching. She had already brought the insurance papers at my house and told me where they were to give my dad. So when I went to the hospital, I had planned to stay the night with her, but things came up. I had to go home and help my kids, which were younger at that time. So I kept telling her I was going to stay with her. She just smiled. And I told her, I said, I'll be back tomorrow. She just smiled. But she had passed away over in the night. And prior to her passing, after she passed, when I went to go back to the hospital, my dad came to my house and got me. But prior to her passing, I was dreaming, seeing God transition her out. So when I went to the hospital, I went and laid on her stomach, and the power of God fell, and I felt a transition there. So when I went back to my ministry, the pastor at that time, my pastor at the time, he said, "You have taken on your mother's mantle." And when you asked me that question, I just thought about her legacy of her praying and interceding for others, and that's what I've taken from her, and to stand on faith, because I'm telling you, a woman of God, she was going through with dialysis. She had high blood pressure, but when I went back to the dialysis after she passed, the center was saying your mother would be here on dialysis, but interceding for other people. And she was the one in the family that all her siblings called. They call her Lee. We're going to call Lee to pray. And when they called Lee, my mama said, we got to touch and agree, because this is going on in the family. So she was grooming me.
Absolutely. I see it. I come from the same type of family. I remember my mother's oldest sister, Pastor Cassie Burrows, out of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I remember she was out of town once, and their pastor actually died in the pulpit. And when she came back, she said, well, if we'd have been here, he wouldn't have died.
Wow.
With you understand what I'm saying? With authority. And from that point on, you know, it was interesting when something would happen in the family. You would have called Cassabelle, because you know Cassabelle is real with this thing,
That's right?
Right? Because she was not playing. But I feel what you're saying, because and we did a collaboration book, Lessons from My Grandmother's Lap, and I share in that book that my earliest memories with my grandmother are praying with her. And I tell people now, I say old people prayed on their knees and on their face, in the bed, half asleep, praying, or down the road trying to say a quick prayer. They took out time to spend with God. And I remember sitting at her feet, and we would fall asleep while she was praying for everybody you could think to pray for.
That was my mom. When you said that, that reminded me of my mom. We all went on a cruise with her siblings and the pastor wife at that time. So she was in the room with the pastor wife and two of her other sisters. So they're in there. So when we got up to eat breakfast, they was like, everybody called her Lee. They was like, Lee was still on the floor praying. And the first lady, she said, I'm the first lady. She said, your mama prayed for everybody. She was calling out names, her sisters, their children, if they had children. But that's how she was. She just prayed. And I thank God for just seeing that in her, and her imparting that in me, because you know, it's, like you say, people don't go back to their knees and just stand before God. It's a quick fix, you know, and I think society has gotten us that way because it's make things too easy. The microwave, you can put it in 30 seconds, it's done. No, you got to spend. Even I tell my kids, God, your mama can pray, but God want to know your voice.
Thank you. Like, I remember my son told me once, he called me to pray for something, and he said, because Mama, God always answers your prayers. I said, baby, I said, he hears you too. I said, I'm going to pray, but I need you to go and seek him as well. And that's been one of the blessings that I see in his life, is that he knows how to seek him for himself. He doesn't know Jesus. He doesn't know the Father through me. He knows, he's experienced him through, but he knows him for himself. And that is a powerful legacy to leave for your mother to have created this space now that you walk in, you know him for yourself, and you're able to share that with other people. So you've blessed me today. I don't even know. Yeah, I'm way over time. You know, this has been so good. Do this for our audience. Tell them where they can get your book.
My book is on my ministry page, www.healingindevesselministries.com. You also can get a copy on Amazon.com, but if you want an autographed copy, you can get it from my ministry page.
Sounds good. Well, do you have any upcoming events or anything going on? Anything that you want to share before you go?
Now, other than my book collaborations, I'm doing those, and I'm working on my new book. I have a couple of speaking engagements, like podcasts and interviews coming up, but I have to look on my Facebook page.
Well, definitely tag us so we can share them, because like I said, you've blessed me today, and I would love to share wherever you are so other people can be blessed as well, because, you know, and this has been in my spirit since you've been sitting here. For some reason, even as believers, we can believe everything, God for everything except for healing. That seems to be the thing that people get stuck. You know, he can do this and that, but he can't do this. And that's why I think it's even more important that you continue to share the stories in your book, so we are reminded who he is. Who he is, and that he can do anything. And when you hear someone else's story, it reminds you
of what
who
he
God
did.
is. That's right. That's
Did
right.
I tell you, I know we ran over time.
Oh, girl, go ahead.
You know, when I read Psalms the 23rd, when I first read it, and now I go back and read it, after God has provided for me and my kids, I really understand the Lord is my shepherd. And I thought about that when you said it's a difference when you have that personal relationship, when you see God just done stuff, and like when I see this God heal, you know, me and another one of the ladies that I'm collaborating a book on with, we were just talking about, you know, being with like-minded people. Because if I'm asking you to intercede with me and you saying, well, I don't know if God want to do it, if God...
Oh no.
See,
those are not your people.
Yeah,
those are not your people.
I was telling her, I always see God, you know, who to talk with and who to ask to be praying with, because they may be having that doubt there. You wonder why you warring in the spirit so heavy for that healing or for that debt cancellation. You know, we have to be mindful who we're asking to touch and agree, because everybody's not touching and agree. Somebody waving, and you don't need nobody to wave.
I'm so glad you said that, because we are very careful. When something happens, they're very specific people
Yes.
that I know to call or to reach out to. Number one, you don't see it on Facebook. I'm not one of the people pray for me. You don't know what they're praying. You don't know what they're saying. You don't know what they're speaking. I had an experience once. Actually, it was a church I was attending in Greenwood, and this has nothing to do with the church because the church was phenomenal, but it was a lady on the prayer team that was calling different people, asking them to pray about different things. She called me, and at the time my husband and I had a business that was growing really fast, and we were really busy, and so I hadn't been there for Wednesday night service, but because we were traveling so much. And so when she called and she was like, well, we hadn't seen you, I said, well, we're so busy, we're traveling and everything. And she said, well, do you want me to pray for you? I said, of course. And as she began to pray, she said, Lord, let their business slow down so that they could be in church more often. I caught that thing. And I had to rebuke it right there. I was like, hold on. No, that's not what I was asking for. No. And that was a lesson learned. And so I don't, even when I see people post stuff like that on Facebook about people praying for them, I immediately begin to pray because I was like, I don't know what the rest of these folk are praying for you for. So let me get in here fast before some of these other folk get in here with their foolishness. But you do have to be careful. You have to know what they believe and how they're praying in your behalf. And like you said before, if Lord, if you can see, no. That's it. He wants me to have the desires of my heart. So Lord, this is what I want. That's it. So I'm so glad you brought that up because people need to hear that because for some reason people think just any prayer is a good prayer. No, baby. No. You don't want that in your life. No, you don't. You don't want that in your life. Awesome. Well, we're going to take a break. And we're going to bring Christine in to do her part of the show. And then we're going to bring you back at the end to close it out with us. That sound good? That's fine. All right. Well, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a special segment here on the Regina Sunshine Show at Regina Sunshine Global Network. All right, you guys, I hope you're not just tuning in. If you are, you need to go back and watch the beginning of this phenomenal show. But we're getting ready to do something a little bit different on the Regina Sunshine Show. I'm going to ask my station manager and producer, Christine Gardner, to join me on the couch here. For those of you who've come to my show, you know in the morning we don't always have as many extra hands on deck as we do for the nighttime shows. You good?
I'm good.
Fix my tablecloth now.
I'm gonna fix it.
All right. So, you guys know that I teach a number of classes out here at Regina Sunshine Global Network, and one of the classes that we just had ending at the end of February was talk show host coaching. Christine has been in that class. And as a part of the final requirements for that class, you have to interview the teacher. And so a lot of times we do that behind the scenes, and we did a couple of snippets in the last class live. But this time, for the first time ever, we're going to do her entire final interview live on air here on the Regina Sunshine Show. And so this is not, I don't know what I'm going to say. What I was going to say is, yes, you're welcome if you want to, send Christine some words of encouragement, because she'll be starting her own show soon. And so this is preparation for that. So what's going to happen now is I'm going to turn over my show to Christine Gardner. Anybody that knows people who like to hold on to control things like me, this is going to be interesting. So
it is.
From this point forward, I'm completely submitted.
You sure?
To Christine Gardner. Take it away.
Good morning, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Christine Gardner, and as she said, I've been taking her class, so I am learning how to be in front of the camera and talk one-on-one conversations, not looking at it as a talk show on camera. And one of the things that Regina has coached me about is that when I'm on camera, I tend to tense up and act like I'm on camera. But when I'm in a group of people without the cameras being there, my conversation flows. So it's been a challenge, but, as you can see now, I'm doing it.
Yes.
And I have to say, even though this is my interview with Regina, the lady that was on just now really touched my heart. A lot she said I've been going through since I was laid off my job in May. So I'm dealing with a lot right now. So I just have to say that she really touched me. And looking at my situation now, I think I got my answers.
That's what's up.
I think I got my answers.
Divine appointments.
I don't think, I know I got my
Divine
answers.
appointments.
Yes.
Yes.
So, I have my interview questions for Regina. My first question for you, at the point where you are in your career, when do you feel you will reach your stopping point when you say, I have reached the sky and now it's time to watch my work itself?
Wow. For me, because everything I do is tied to my purpose and the reason God has put me on the planet, it'll be when I transition. That's what I see, because everything that I do is tied to this space where I'm assisting others to live on purpose and to be who God has called them to be. And you never walk away from that. You may walk away from a physical business, or you may walk away from an assignment, or you may, finish a project, but you will always operate in that gift. So I don't think there's an end. I think there's just a transition.
Okay. So, excuse me, my next question is, when did you know what your purpose was in life?
I can't remember a time that I didn't know. I've always felt different. I've always felt like I didn't fit in. I've always been a servant and a helper of people. That's why when I started my coaching business, I told people I've been coaching so long that I was always a coach. People have always come to me for assistance. So I always knew that I was purposed, number one, to help build God's kingdom, and number two, to be that person that assisted others in walking out their purpose. It wasn't until, I would say, 2008 or 2009 that I could put that in some form of structure. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can know what you're supposed to be doing and not quite know how to do it. And some of the things that I had to overcome was this, and I talk about this in my book, feeling of being unworthy to do the things God's called you to do, feeling unqualified to do the things that God has called you to do. And so there were some things he had to settle in me before it was official that I was moving in those things. And I have to give a shout out to Tracy Stewart, evangelist Tracy Stewart, out of Florence, South Carolina, who prophesied over me in a service at Grace Community Church in Greenwood, South Carolina. I'll never forget it. I was one of those people that always went to the altar but never got a word. You know what I'm talking about. Everybody else get a word, you'll never get one. Man, that was me. Everybody, and this day, she came to me And there had to be 1,000 people at the altar that day. And she looked at me and she said, more than anyone here, God has gifted you with the ability to lift the heads of the brokenhearted, to heal those that are bruised. She said, and you stand here wondering if you qualified to do it. Try not to cry. She said, and you're wondering if you're good enough to do it. And I'm standing like, she's reading my mail, man. She's got me. And she said, it's time for you just to do what he's told you to do. She said, he calls you. That qualifies you. And so I went from knowing what I was supposed to do to beginning to truly operate fully in it after that day, because through her, he answered every question that I had. And so from that point on, I had no excuse but to fully walk in that place.
Lord have mercy. I'm going to say this. Everything that you have just said has been my life. It's my life now. I've been God's servant. I've been counseling people, but I've also been going through myself with depression, and I've been dealing with that. I got my life certification, and when I was going through my depression, I hear people speaking to me, telling me, people that become life coaches is because they're transparent. You have to be transparent in what you go through in life. And I've always been transparent in my life. No matter what I've been going through, I keep moving. I was a single mom for 26 years before I got married. And my kids was my life. I didn't know who I was. I've always been mom. I didn't know who Christine was. Mm-hmm. And I'm still battling that. Still don't know who I am. I know parts of me. And I know that I have a purpose to help others, but I still don't know exactly what it is that I'm supposed to be doing. And I know that there's a lot of women out there that are where I'm at. Even though I'm 47, I can't put a time on God's time of when he's going to let me know, okay, this is what I want you to do. And he's probably already told me.
Oh, yes. Everything that God has for us, that has purpose for us, is already inside of us. A lot of times we're looking for some outward, sign or somebody to tell us. Other people can confirm what's inside of you. They can confirm what you already know, but it's already inside of you. And, it's interesting that we're having this conversation. A lot of us battle with that. It's nothing new. You're not by yourself in that. Here I am, 46 years old, doing things that most people in my life probably saw me doing 20 years ago. But I was a wife and a mother, and I was a wife and a mama. That was it. I wasn't doing, my husband's calendar was my calendar. You know what I'm saying? And those things were so important to me that I put all my dreams on the shelf. I put everything to the side so that I could be who they needed me to be. And then one day God tapped me. He was like, it's time. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. It's time. Go get them off the shelf. Mm-hmm. Bring them back out and do those things. And for a long time in the beginning, I was like, but God, do you know how old I am now? You know where I am now as opposed to where I was when I was in my 20s, when people now meet me, they're like, we can't believe we hadn't seen you on Oprah. We really believe all these things were going to happen for you earlier in life. But I trust God's time. And I trust him to do in my life exactly what he has purposed to do. And so those questions I had about time and where I could have been, and now if I had done it then, I think about people like you. I wouldn't have met you. I wouldn't have met Jackie Goodwin. I think about all the people that in our lives now that are a part of Regina Sunshine Global Network, and all the the blessings and I wouldn't have had. So I cannot ask God why in that regard, and not at the same time dismiss all of you from my life. Does that make sense? And so I'm thankful for where I am and the people he's brought around me, and the wisdom that I've gained through years of experience, so that now that I'm on this journey, I see things are completely different through my 46-year-old eyes than I would have through my 25-year-old eyes.
True. That is so true. I wasn't per se brought up in the church. I had to learn God's journey on my own. And when you learn him on your own, it's the most wonderful experience. And from someone else telling you about him, because I used to sit in church and I used to say, I want to be where she is with God. I want to hear his voice. And one day I did. When I was actually seeking him, I did hear his voice, and that was when, excuse me, I was going through my depression. It's about you. And that's when I figured out some things, and, why I was bringing the people in my life, that I was trying to fill a void that I could never fill, feeling like I was unworthy to do what God wanted me to do, feeling like I was unworthy for God's love. And I reached out to some people that I shouldn't have reached out to. When a friend of mine actually told me to go to counseling, he pushed me. He was like, for the love of your boys, I need you to go seek somebody, because it had got to the point where, you see me smile all the time. I was going through where I wasn't smiling. I would go to work, and sometimes, I would be able to mask it. But during that time, I couldn't mask it. And people was asking, what is wrong with you? And whereas I didn't want to commit suicide, the feeling that I had was if I died, all that pain was gone. If, there was nothing, I wouldn't feel anything else. But I wasn't ready to go. I still had not finished what I was supposed to have been doing. So I did seek counseling. And my counselor told me that you are the most genuine person that I've ever met. She said, you are unique. She said, I was telling her about all the people that I was seeking, and she said the reason why they're failing is because God has put all the tools inside of you. You don't need those people. Everything that you need, God has already put inside of you. And it's been a journey, and I'm still on that journey. I am. So with that being said, my next question for you is, what keeps you motivated to push and to do what you do?
It's interesting. Again, you said that when I spoke in South Carolina on Friday, I gave them the three things, what I call my reset buttons. Then when things are hard, or I'm feeling discouraged, because people assume I'm Regina Sunshine. I'm never discouraged, right? I'm not allowed to be human. But there are three things that get me back right. Number one is I'm reminded of my why. I go back to that moment with Tracy Stewart at the altar when she told me exactly what she saw, what God had already showed me, you know what I'm saying? And she cleared up all those questions. So I'm reminded of that. Number two, I'm reminded that I can do it afraid, if that makes sense. Now, I know God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and love and a sound mind. But when I say that, there's some things that seem so big that you're like, can I do that? And I remind myself that I can do it. Even I have to do it trembling, as they say. And number three, the biggest thing for me that keeps me on track is I remember who I am and whose I am. And my personal motto is what? What I always say, it's not over till I win. And I tell people all the time that me plus God is a majority, and we always win. Those are the things that I go back to when I don't know what to do. I don't know if it doesn't look like I think it's supposed to look. I go back and say, okay, I remember why I'm here. I know I'm purposed to do these things, all right? And so I'm going to do them even if I got to do them scared. And number three, he's already with me, so I've already won. And so if I've already won, I've just got to walk the steps from here to the end. It's not about waiting to find out if I'm going to win. I've already won. So those are the things that get me back on track. And let's get up and go do what we got to do.
I'm going to say that, I've been scared to push myself. Afraid of speaking in front of an audience. But hey, I'm doing it now. I'm here and I'm talking, without pausing. My conversation is flowing because I know that this is nothing but the Spirit talking to me right now, that I'm able to do this on my own, and I'm trying not to cry. I go through a lot some days, and my significant other, he tries to help. And I love him, I do, and I know he loves me, but sometimes you just can't. You have to go through it. You have to be able to come out of it and experience it on your own. Because all the struggles that I've been through, I've appreciated the blessings behind it. My size has kept me from doing a lot. And, you know, we're both plus size. And I noticed that when I first met you, the very first day that I met you, I said, you know, she's a plus size lady too, but she's on doing her business. I said, I want to be like her. And I took that and I ran with it. And I asked you, you know, is there anything that I can help you do? And I think the next time I saw you, you told me that you was starting a new team. Mm-hmm. And you knew that you wanted me to be a part of your team. And I thank you for that. Because the stuff that people that I've met, the things that I've experienced, the knowledge that I've gotten has been phenomenal. It has. You meet people in your life for a reason. And one day you asked me when we was on the phone and I was still in Alabama, you asked me, why now do you think the things that you want to do is going to work? And I told you in Alabama, people are not really trying to help you. You were that force that I was supposed to meet at the time that I was supposed to meet you. So me meeting my husband, in turn, I met a divine connection with you. This was not supposed to be a crying session.
I'm trying to keep my lashes on.
So you have inspired me, you know, with the things that you do, and also again, being plus size like myself, you have I did a lot of things, and you have pushed me, and you was like, you know, go up on the stage and talk. You got this. You got this. And I'm really thankful. And I've some days that, you know, I get scared, which is every day pretty much. But today I'm here and I'm talking and it feels good. And I'm ready. I am ready. I can honestly say that I am ready today. I've been, you know, postponing it. You know, I've been working on my book. Mm-hmm. Sexual Appetite I've been working on that book for almost 2 years now. It hasn't been exactly 2 years, but it's almost been 2 years. It is a phenomenal book. It's not just about, you know, sex. It's about loving who you are in your own body, being who you're supposed to be. And it's conversation between a man and a woman. And when I actually just did a television appearance, which hasn't aired yet, but that was my first television appearance that I did. And in her questioning, I figured out why I started that book, because it was conversation. So now I'm having to go back and put my chapters in because it was just conversation. So it's a little difficult, but it's coming, y'all. I promise it is coming this year. I'm still working on it. Okay, so with the fact that I told you, you know, a lot of my struggles was because of me being, you know, plus size. What struggles have you had or have being a plus size woman as an entrepreneur?
Well, I don't want to say none, but one of the differences I think between me and a lot of plus size women is the way I was raised. You've heard me say many times that my mother always told us we were beautiful and smart and amazing and we can do anything. So my weight was never an issue. It was never a part of the conversation. And because it was never a part of the conversation, it never had a seat at the table of decisions I made in my life. And so if somebody ever told me I couldn't do something, I said, well, my mama said that I'm beautiful and I'm smart and I can do anything I wanted to. So I never saw it as something that could limit me, if that makes sense. Yes, it's very real part of my life. And so, yes, we're going to have real talk conversations. So you go into a concert, you want to know how wide the seats are before you get there, that type of stuff. Right. But in terms of me being Regina Sunshine and doing the things that God has purposed in my heart, it's never been a factor for me. And again, I'm so thankful for the mother that I have, because, I'm 46 years old, and I still get notes and cards from my mama that says, "I'm so glad God sent you to me. You're my golden child. You're going to do such great things in the world." And so when that's all you've heard, that's all you know. So it was, again, I'm sure somewhere, I can't think of anything. For me, it was never a part of the conversation, because I'd been told such good stuff about myself. Now, I'm sure I've walked in rooms before and they'd be like, "She the keynote speaker?" I sure am. I'm going to take this stage and kick the door in when I get here. Do you understand? So I don't know about other people's perception of me, which I always like being looked at as the underdog. I want you to wonder what's going to happen when I take the microphone, so that I can blow your hair back. Do you understand?
I do.
And so I haven't allowed it to be a limitation, because it's never been something that I saw as a limiting factor.
See, the opposite for me. That's why I've placed limitations on what I've been able to do, because I didn't have that in my life. I didn't have someone telling me that you're beautiful. Size was always a factor for me. It had its front. It was always sitting at the table. In everything that I did in my life, it was sitting at the table. Being bullied in school, being the last one to be picked. We was having a block relay race team, but I used to run my butt off. At my size that I was growing up. Funny story. This little boy in school was in middle school, and he was teasing me. And everybody thought that I couldn't run because of my size. And literally, my feet was touching the back of my butt. I was chasing him down the hall. And I would have caught him if the assistant principal hadn't came out of his office. And I got in trouble, of course, for running the hallway. But everybody was talking about it that day, how I ran and almost caught him. But there has been throughout my life, me being plus size has been a struggle. And that's the reason why I'm choosing to do the reason why I've created my brand on the thick side for women like myself that are not or have not been confident in our size, and we've limited ourselves because of that. I don't push, obesity as being positive. I push, just loving who you are, a healthy you, pretty much. That's what, and that's the reason why, like I said, I created my brand on the thick side, because I don't want anyone to feel like I have felt over the years. You are beautiful no matter what size you are. So keep pushing and keep fighting, and you will find your purpose and find where you're supposed to fit in at. You're not supposed to fit in everywhere.
That's right.
So I have one last question for you. Actually, I'm going to ask this question, I got one last question.
You're out of time.
What inspiration can you offer to me in my new future endeavors as a talk show host?
It's a beautiful journey. The thing I love about doing this show is I get to meet some amazing people like Jacqueline, that I wouldn't have met but for this show. And so let that be an inspiration to you, that you're going to be able to connect with all types of people. And not only will they inspire you, you'll inspire them, and you'll just build some amazing connections. I always tell people, everybody that walks through the door to my show, I see as a divine connection, either with me or someone that's present, that this space God set aside for that very reason, for people to connect and work together and go do positive things. So that's the thing I would tell you to hold on to. Enjoy the journey. Look forward to who's walking through the door next, right? Who do you get to interview next? Because you never know the turn the interview is going to take. Right. You understand? Sure. Jacqueline sent me her bio and everything, but I didn't know the conversation that we were going to have today. Right. And so I look forward to that getting to know people. And because you're like me, you're a people person too, I can see you having the same type of joy with those experiences.
Yes, because I have enjoyed this interview. I have. And I wasn't nervous. I really wasn't. But my last question for you, knowing the person that you are, I have to ask, have you had trouble finding love One, as a plus size woman, and two, as a successful entrepreneur?
No.
Okay.
Goes back to confidence. I was a writer in, Chicken Soup for the Soul's Curvy and Confident. And I told a story there about a young lady who commented that when we would walk into the room, every man there would watch me walk in. And I said, do you know why they watch me? I said, because I walk in here like I'm the baddest thing in here. I said, men are attracted to confidence. A woman who knows who she is. They don't have to go and build her up and put her together every day. She comes as a whole woman, right? And so for me, that part has never been the issue, because I carry myself the way that I do. So no, that's never been the issue. The issue, of course, is keeping the ones away that you don't want around. I always say, and I tell women this all the time, there will be a lot of men in your face, but there are only certain men that are qualified to be in your space. So, there's plenty of them out there. And so for all the plus size women to think you can't find love, honey, Christine can tell you about the men that have rolled through my inbox and rolled through here, models, professional athletes, you name it, that, it's not about necessarily what you look like. It's about who you are. And people are attracted to people who know who they are and know their purpose and are walking through the world a certain way. So that's never been an issue for me.
I'm going to say this because she did mention to me before I started, Regina's show, me and her had this conversation about confidence. And I look back when I first lost my 140 pounds, how confident I was, and how, baby, this is before I met you.
Tanya, we don't want no problems.
Before I met you, I had lost 140 pounds, and I was so confident in myself. And I had men that normally wouldn't look at me, was looking at me, because I was confident in me walking down the street, because I look good. I mean, I look good now, and I had to learn how to love myself from the inside out. But yeah, that confidence,
it makes all the difference in the world.
A whole difference.
I tell women all the time that it's about knowing who you are and knowing whose you are. And if you got that, everything else builds from that. And that's why you all know somebody that you look at her and you were like, girl, she ain't even cute, and she got this amazing man. Because she knows who she is. Exactly. She knows who she is, and he loves it. Exactly. A real man wants a real woman. He wants just like he's a whole person. He wants another whole person, and the two of them together. I always say, people, 1 + 1 is not 2. 1 + 1 is 11, and it's exponential. And when two whole people come together and move together in God's purpose, man, awesome. Unstoppable.
It is
unstoppable.
Awesome. And on that note, with that being said, that I believe that's what makes me and Tiny 11, because we was actually nominated Power Couple of the Year.
Yes, congratulations.
So we are working toward being the best Power Couple we can be in 2019 and beyond. We have a lot that we need to work on as a couple, but who doesn't? And as long as you're working toward being better, it will happen, and you're walking in God's purpose. There's nothing that you can't do. I have enjoyed this interview with Regina today. I will be back with my own show, so watch out for my future endeavors. And again, if you want to support me, you can go to my page at author Christine Adams. on Facebook. I'm on Instagram at bold, the letter N, beautiful 2017. Also Christine Gardner on Facebook. And soon my webpage for my blog will be back up. It's kind of under construction right now. So y'all can see me here, or you can also see me on Facebook and Instagram. It's good talking to y'all today.
Y'all give Christine a hand. That was phenomenal. So I got to give you feedback. Since you did it louder, I got to give you feedback louder. The thing that we talked about at the beginning of the class was exactly the thing that you have conquered. That timidness, that kind of being nervous instead of just having a conversation, which it was so natural and so at ease, and I could tell you felt comfortable as well. You've come so far. I'm so proud of you. You did an excellent job. Great questions that made me think, made me dig a little bit, made me give some information to the audience. Everything that you've been coached to do, you did really well today. And I could tell you living in that moment. I am proud of you, and I look forward to seeing your show get off the ground. I mean, I have to say this. You know, you talked about when we met and just the energy exchange and everything. I met Christine at my 45th birthday party. I had a concert of sorts. I had like 14, 15 performers, and her husband was one of the performers. Well, her fiance at the time was one. Was y'all engaged?
No,
then?
we weren't
Your
even
boyfriend
engaged.
and girlfriend, yeah, was
and
one of the performers, and I met her, and if you ever met someone that the moment you meet them, they're like family, like you just happen not to have seen each other in a while, you just instantly, and from that day forward, we were instant friends. And she came in my party, and she began serving immediately. Do you want me to serve some food? Hand out some cups. And didn't know me, had never met me, and her servant's heart was so apparent and so loving and giving, and we became instant friends. And you've been such a blessing to me. You have cried with me. You know, people think Regina Sunshine don't cry. I mean, we've had some. We have, and I thank God that He placed us in each other's lives to be sisters, to assist each other on this journey. And I just can't wait to see what's next. All right. Well, I guess I'm gonna let you slide out because we don't. Our other producer's not here yet, so normally we would take a break. All right, so we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, I'm going to invite Miss Jacqueline Goodwin back to help me close out the show. You're live on the air at Regina Sunshine. And, of course, Christine Gardner on the Regina Sunshine Show at Regina Sunshine Global Network. All right, you guys, today has been a phenomenal show. If you have not seen the whole thing, I want you to go back and watch the entire thing. You will be blessed. Somewhere in there, you'll get some type of inspiration or a word that you needed, something to help you on your journey. And normally we have all of our guests back, but Christine is back on her producer duties. So it's me and Miss Godwin. Goodwin. We're going to close out the show together. And one of the things I do at the end of the show is I do like to give my guests one last opportunity to give a word of encouragement to our audience. And I have one specific question for you, though, specifically for those people who are seeking healing. What's your word of encouragement for them?
My word of encouragement for you is to don't let your diagnosis affect your faith. The doctor can give you a report, but don't let that drain your faith. You keep your faith up and you stay in the Word of God.
Absolutely. And back to the transition you made from your plan to God's plan. There's somebody listening right now, they already got it mapped out. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. And they're hearing something different. You know, they got a stirring that's telling them something different. Would you give them some encouragement on how you shift from your plan to God's plan?
Well, one thing when I learned, when you are not in the will of God, things didn't flow. And also that God is already preparing us for, because even me working as a paralegal, and I was already counseling, he was already transitioning me to take the counseling, and even with the counseling, was preparing me for ministry. So if you have heard, and I want to touch on something y'all said earlier about, we have we've heard God, but then we look for validation for other people. When you've already heard God, it's okay to get that validation, But the key thing is your relationship and know that you've heard the voice of God. And when God is spoken, you need to act. You don't, because sometimes you may not get validation. You may not get affirmation. You may not get a confirmation. But you got to know that God has told you to do this. And God will not lead you in some place that he's always not equipped you to do it. So my advice to you, that if God has transitioned you, follow. Just follow the Spirit lead, and he will order your footsteps.
That's awesome. Well, one more time, remind our audience how they can follow you on social media, where they can get your book, all that information.
I'm on Facebook as Jacqueline Goodwin. Instagram is Lanice Goodwin. You can get my book off of Amazon.com or my ministry page, www.healingandinvestingministry.com.
Well, I thank you so much for being here. It's been a great show. Thank you to your babies in the back for being here and supporting as well. To my audience, I leave you with the words I always leave you with. Remember this: God loves you just the way you are. You are beautiful because you were created in love. You are fearfully and wonderfully made. You have the seeds of greatness within you. You were born to live a victorious life. You are brilliant, gorgeous, talented, and fabulous. You are worthy of the best things in life. Make sure you guys tune in next week, same time, right back here on the Regina Sunshine Show. I do want to mention the shows for the rest of the day. I didn't do that at the beginning of the show. At 5 o'clock, we have Focus Forward with Robin. We got an all-male guest. Women don't show up here looking for these men today. I have to say that kind of stuff. They see men on the show, folks are showing up. So here looking for these men today. 7 o'clock, we have Team Bride Tribe. 9 o'clock, we have The Curve. So we got a full lineup of amazing shows. If you're in the area, you want to come out and be a part of our live studio audience tonight, you're welcome. We have a whole bunch of people all throughout here. And at 7 o'clock, we have free supper. There's always free food here at 7 o'clock on Monday night. So come on through and eat with us as well. All right? That's it. And again, I leave you with my personal motto. I always say it's not over till I win. If I hadn't won yet, that just means it's not over. So I tell you today, it's not over till you win. If you hadn't won yet, baby, that just means it's not over. Be blessed and keep winning.